This is Pod Populi.
Podcast for the people.
The Great Love Debate. It's the Great Love Debate.
The Great Love Debate. It's the Great Love Debate.
Hi again, everyone. It's Brian Howie. Welcome to the Great Love Debate, the world's #1 dating and relationship podcast. Since 2015, I am back here in the very fine studios of Pod Populi, podcasts for the people. Two quick PSAs, two quick public service announcements to kick things off here. First of all, I teased it at the end of the last show, the Great Love Debate. We are doing our big show, our live show on a 5-day Virgin cruise. It's part of Richard Branson's birthday celebration week, something like that. It's his boat, it's his party, it's our show. I have most of the details. It is in July-ish, late July. I think it's July 17th to 22nd, 18th, it's somewhere in July, I think. I'll get that. I probably shouldn't even talk about it until I get it. I'll get it. I'll get you all the details. We have had some sort of fits and starts doing one of these on a big boat on the high seas for a couple of years now. COVID killed one of them, but this is happening. It's going down, not the ship, the show, on the spectacular Scarlet Lady. That's the name of the big boat. I'll have all the details. It'll be on our website. It'll be on our social media, so follow our social media in the days ahead. But save the date, whatever the date was that I just said, July-ish, third week in July. I think that's it. I'm positive that's it. And also, PSA number 2, in the weeks ahead, we've got some very, very, with a capital very, famous guests coming on this podcast. We've got some return guests. We got some new guests. We've even got some surprise guests. Ladies and gentlemen, here's my wife. No, that's how I'm going to do it. When I finally get married, I'm just going to bring her on the podcast. I'm going to throw her to the wolves. Mrs. Howie's here today. See if you guys even notice. You're going to be like, wait, what? You got married? What? Who? Who is she? Anyway, but that's a show for another day. But today, you get just me. So the other day, someone says to me, and I know I start off a lot of podcasts with that sentence. A lot of our podcasts start with, so someone said to me, the other day someone said to me, but that's how I get my stimuli. My thoughts come that way. Somebody says to me, or I read something, or I saw something, or I felt something, which is a good thing. So someone says to me the other day, you have such a big audience, you need to use that power for good. And two things bothered me about that sentence. First of all, the implication that we don't currently use that quote-unquote power for good. We're talking about love here. Our tagline is literally, we never stop making love. That's really good. We are using it for good. We're selling hope. We occasionally have ads on here for Arby's. So if we aren't using this podcast for good, then who is really? I can't help you. But the thing that made me not quite wince, but maybe pause a little bit was the word power. It just seemed a little too much, and it shouldn't at all, because power is just another word for influence. And I get that influencer has a somewhat negative connotation, has a negative influence, the word influencer these days, but it really shouldn't. I've been called a dating influencer. That's sort of the moniker they give me. I've been called the dating influencer, and I think that's fine. And I'm sort of proud of that. We move the conversation, and we shift the dialogue, and we try to make things happen. But when she said power, I don't know. To me, that seemed too powerful, I guess. So I instantly got a little defensive, and I said, power? I don't have power. And for good, I was like, what do you mean for good? I'm good. We're good. Great love debate. Good. All good. And ultimately, I broke it down and she says, no, I mean, you need to spread the word of the Lord or something like that. And I mean, God bless you, but that's not really my place. And I respect your faith, but no, our religion is love around here, which is a damn good religion. So whoever your higher power is, they're most likely rooted in the same thing. Love. Good. But there's that word again, power. Excuse me. So energy has power. Or maybe energy is power, I guess. Thoughts have power. Feelings have power. And words have power. I remember the first time I realized it. I don't know. It was like 20 years ago. I wrote a play. And you do these preview performances to work out the kinks. And at the very first preview performance, I'm sitting in the back of the room near like the lighting board. And something that one of the actors said on stage made the audience think. They didn't laugh. They didn't scream. They didn't shout. They just thought. And there were maybe, I don't know, only like 75 people in this little theater. But 75 people thinking at the same time, and their brains kind of collectively whirring together. It was like humming in thought. To me, that made a sound, and I can hear it. And I love that because something I wrote led to something the actor said, and it made people think. And that felt like power to me. That felt like a power over a group of people in a good way. That felt like positive energy. I think that was a great thing. And I realized that. So what does that have to do with dating and relationships? Well, it's sort of the same thing. You know, you go out with someone, you make them laugh. That's power. Or ultimately you make them feel or think or react or smile, or sometimes good and bad, you make them cry. Any action that gets a reaction, that's power. I think we learned that in science class and inertia and all that stuff. And that's all a good thing, and we need to embrace it. Now, can that be used for bad? Of course. And things can turn out bad, always, and misused and overused and abused. But so can cooking an omelet, you know? Sometimes things just have all the right ingredients and it just goes bad. I was on an airplane the other day. Didn't go bad. Like most days I'm on an airplane. And unfortunately, I was watching, there's a documentary that was made about Anthony Bourdain, the chef, the writer, the adventurer. And I think it was called Roadrunner. Google it, the Anthony Bourdain documentary. It's called Roadrunner. I think it was released theatrically last year, and now I think it has a run on CNN or one of the cable networks. It's available to be watched. And as you know, Anthony Bourdain, he led at least the illusion of this amazing life. He traveled the world, he had adventures, he met people, he ate food, he was a brilliant writer, all that. But and he was pretty open about this. He did have a dark side. And he had an addictive personality. And I think if you know anything about him, you do know how his story ended. But right before his story ended, he fell for a woman. And he fell about as hard as you can fall. And he changed everything. He changed his work. He changed his thoughts. He changed his passions and his mindset. She completely rewired him. She and this relationship completely rewired him. That was the power she had over him. Or was it? Or is the power of his own emotions that led him to make those changes, and she was just sort of the conduit for that? His own emotions and the power that he could or could not harness led him to feel those things and believe those things. I don't know, but there is clearly some power there inside a complicated relationship. And obviously with him and with them, there were some really complex issues. Watch the film. I don't want to spoil it or anything, but it was like he didn't know how to harness the power. Doesn't mean the power was a bad thing. Doesn't mean the power of their relationship was a bad thing. Doesn't mean her power was a bad thing. It just means that it didn't get quite run through the proper conduit to result in healthy love. You don't harness the power. It's like a live wire, and it can lead into obsession and fear and pain, and oftentimes a really dark place that you don't want to go to, either alone or with someone, and especially not because of someone. It's not good. But that isn't the positivity of the power that I want to explore. So this show is about the positivity of power, the side of the battery with the plus side. There's two sides on the battery. Learn that real young. There's a negative and a positive. That's what this is about. And we're going to put a little charge in all of this, but we do got to take a quick break because our sponsors do power this show. And so we will be back with all of it right after this. And we are back, and we're talking about power. And I know it's just me, but I say we. I feel like we are having a conversation, and that is the power of all of this to move this podcast forward. I want to talk about the power that you have over the outcome of your dating life and your happiness. And people get mad at me sometimes. They're like, you're too positive, or you paint a picture that's too easy. And I'm like, I don't know. I paint a picture that's sort of basic. And if you can handle the basic ingredients, I think that does make it easy. I think people overcomplicate things. You know, we hear it all the time. I feel so powerless. Just sit around and wait for them to call, or I wonder what they are thinking, or I wish they would act or do or say something different. And powerless to a lot of you, to a lot of us, that sometimes feels like helpless. That's not necessarily true, though. They aren't the same thing. You aren't helpless. And it's not just that we are here to help. We are great love listeners. But we're also telling you that you have power. You have power over the outcome. You have power over the situation. You have power over an audience, whether that audience is just you, or that audience is one other person, or that audience is a group of people, which means that you have power over the possibilities. And that is something that we have talked about on this podcast since day one. I think it's actually the very first subject that we talked about back on episode 1, and that is the power of possibilities. Not even just to create them, because they do already exist without much help from you. The possibilities are there. There's nothing you can do about that. They existed before you got there. They existed after you got there. It's what you do while you are there. It's the power to recognize them. It's the power to act on them. It's the power to not let them pass you by. That's about you. That's your own power. And that's owning your power. And if it doesn't work out, you have the power to move on. Press forward. Go to the next possibility, the better opportunity. And when you find it, and you will find it, you have the power to let them know how you feel and what you like and what you want and need and hope and all of it. And you have the power to feel and react and share and love and grow with them. That's your power. That's a good thing. It's a good word. You were born with it. Lots of wiring in our bodies. Our brains and our hearts, they're all run with sort of a current. And there's lots of emotional wiring too. And you harness all that together, it's power. It operates you. It motivates you. So when you say, and a lot of you absolutely do say, nothing ever happens. Nobody ever asks me out. Nobody ever calls me back. Nothing ever works out. I don't even want to go out. You have the power to change your mind and change your activities. All of it. And change your actions. And ultimately, the mindset. So if that's how I'm using my slice of power right now to change your mindset, good. It's a good thing. You're welcome. Get the fuck out of bed. Do something about it. Start looking around. That guy over there, that girl over here, that opportunity to find someone new in someplace new and create something new. Power to power to power. It's not for you to say, do I want that power? It's too late. You have it. You're born with it. We were all born with it. So you can do with it whatever you like, but it is and it will be sitting there waiting for you. And you don't have to dive all into it. You don't have to turn the current